as Ian Chung, who's a partner at HFW, to give a different perspective.
Thank you everyone for being here. My name is Ian Chung. I'm a partner at HFW. We're one of the, international maritime firms spread out over 16 countries, 20 offices, mainly North America, Europe, Asia, Australia. So we track a lot of the sense of the global trade routes. My perspective, which I'm sharing today, is really one more, which is something we've heard a lot about: the developments, the investments that need to be made in the future, in the view to really moving things along and trying to create some kind of, the investment and the infrastructure for what will happen. There's a lot of business as usual stuff which happens on a day-to-day basis, and unfortunately when we get involved, it tends to be more heavily now around compliance. And probably for tanker operators more than anything else, the last couple of years, compliance has been the big thing. Everything from KYC to the price cap to actually what products are being transferred. By analogy, our own business has changed immensely in the last few years. Historically, there was a fixation on us on know your client, understand the UBO. We have gone way beyond that now. And so even when we act for our own clients, we look up vessels, we track the AIS, we try and understand the trade patterns, we try and understand exactly what it is that our clients are coming us for help for, and we ourselves now are probably undertaking more due diligence than we ever thought was possible 10 years ago. I think probably the best starting point is, in terms of the things that we see coming across our desk from clients on the compliance side, it's very much issues of what the current threats are. And on the threats, or global threats to operators, we see a lot of issues on cyber, a lot of issues on technology becoming obsolete to the point where they can no longer operate. We see a lot of inquiries on data. We discussed data earlier on, and it's very true now that there is so much data capture which is possible. AI has enabled data processing to take place in the realm never envisaged before. We see a lot of issues now in relation to ownership of data, use of data, transmission of data, and actually what is possible and what that data allows operators to do. We see an increasing amount of information on local compliance, in-country value, social requirements, the workforce, crew welfare, and a lot of these to do with flag states. Increasingly, including in the UAE now, we're seeing an increasingly globalized tax regime. In some ways, it aids transparency, in other ways it becomes more challenging. We see huge, not huge, but significant changes in terms of financing and how financing has approached marine, particularly on the oil side, with some banks withdrawing completely, others coming in. With the current financial environment and the changes to the prevailing interest rates, we do see more distress in terms of being able to obtain financing. And then probably the biggest piece which we see regularly relates to compliance on trade sanctions. And actually a lot of what we advise on now and what we see goes beyond what is the standard test which people have in terms of the three tiers and whether you are, how close you are to the transaction itself, all the way through to what due diligence now you need to do on your counterpart to understand whether or not you can trade with them, whether there is a potential that you are in violation of trade sanctions, and whether there's a risk then that the company or the vessel itself gets blacklisted. I just want to touch on the issues of CSR and ESG. We do see increasing pushes to, and as we discussed today, on the importance of ESG and how that develops. That's something which is ongoing. I think the challenge that we have found from our perspective is the limitation or the limited amount at the moment of hard legal obligations which have to come through. And I think those are being negotiated but not really implemented in a really clear way for a lot of our clients to understand how best to make decisions, economic decisions for the future. I'm happy to answer any questions in the panel session, but I just want to bring you through really